Hello everybody and thank you for watching this video. In this video we're going to be giving you a brief Excel tutorial where we're going to only be giving you what you need to know to successfully complete assignment number 3. Excel has a lot of different functionality from graphing to data analytics. However, we're just going to be focusing on some of the basic functionalities here today, again, to help you with your assignment number 3, which is your recipe costings. So before we get into a tutorial or a practical tutorial of how to use Excel, I thought it might be a good idea to explain what Excel is, just in case there's a few of you that haven't had a whole lot of exposure with Excel. So what is Excel? Excel is just a big calculator, okay? We call each particular Excel file a worksheet that is composed of various rows and columns that come to create an individual cell. Okay, so you can identify a specific cell by using that cell's specific coordinates. Each row is numbered from 1 to I'm not sure where it stops, and each column is lettered, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Based on the coordinates of a specific cell, you can identify one opposed to many. So if I were to say, cell 1A, that would be the very first cell in the top left-hand side on a worksheet. Now, it's the combination of all of these cells that come together to create a worksheet or a workbook. Okay, and these cells are where we put information for either analysis or different calculations. Okay, for our purposes today, we're not going to be we're not going to be using the analytical tools of Excel. We're just going to be using some of the very basic calculation functions. So that's adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. But also using equations in the equation bar to help make it quicker. So as I had alluded to before, here are some of the basic calculations you can perform in Excel. For example, you can add multiple cells together for addition. You can subtract the value in one cell from the value in another using subtraction. You can divide and you can also multiply. While these are all fairly straightforward and simple procedures, the way we communicate what we want to do in Excel is a bit different than what you've been exposed to on, say, a calculator or on a calculator. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you how to communicate with Excel to get it to do what you want it to do. Okay, like I had said, Excel is just a big calculator. And as Excel is a big calculator, the quality of the output of a calculation is dependent upon the input of that information. So it's critical to understand how we put information into Excel and how we tell Excel to do what we want, which I'll talk about in the next slide. So here are 5 different symbols on your keyboard that helps us communicate with Excel and tell Excel exactly what we want to do with specific inputs. Okay, these are normally referred to as formulas, and how we tell Excel that we want to put in a formula is by clicking on a particular cell and hitting the equal sign. That tells Excel that we're about to put in a formula. Say we wanted to add 2 cells together. We hit the equal sign. We click the first cell that we want to add. We hit that little plus sign and then click the other cell we want to add to the first. We then hit enter and Excel will do the math for us and give us the addition of those 2 particular cells. So while the addition and subtraction symbols are pretty intuitive to those particular mathematical procedures, for example, addition is a plus sign, subtraction is the subtract sign, multiplication and division, these you might not have seen before if you haven't worked with Excel a lot. If we want to divide one cell by another or one value by another, we hit equals, click the cell that we want to divide, and then hit the backslash button and click the other cell that we want to divide by. Very similar is multiplication. So the multiplication sign, or how we tell Excel we want to multiply two numbers together, is with the asterisks. So we would hit equals, again, because we're telling Excel we're putting in a formula. We click the one cell that we want to multiply, hit the asterisks, and then click the other cell we want to multiply by. We hit enter, and Excel will multiply those two cells together. So now what I'd like to do is I'm going to share my screen on another slide, and I'm just going to go through the basic calculations, putting formulas into Excel, and then adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying. Okay, where we apply this knowledge or these procedures are in your recipe costing assignments, or assignment number 3. It's important for you to be aware of the technology available to you while you're in industry, but it's also good for you to know how to use it proficiently. It saves you a lot of time. If you're doing this on the computer, it's something that will, if you've created it right, it's something that will be transferable from recipe to recipe to recipe, whereby saving you a ton of time. Okay, so here's that mini Excel tutorial. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put two columns of numbers, and then I'm going to add them together using Excel functions or equations, and then I'm going to multiply, divide, and subtract. And then I'll just give you a general overview of some of the the formatting options you can work with. Okay. So I'm just going to put in some numbers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And then if I go backwards here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I've got two columns, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of some numbers here. Okay, so this would be D3, although so this would be D3, and it has a value of 1 in it, and then so on and so forth all the way down. So here we're going to do addition first. Okay, so I want to add this this cell and this cell and put the output here. Okay, and I want to do that all the way down for each column in each row. So I'm going to hit equals, because that tells Excel I'm putting in an equation in here. I click the cell I want to add, or the first cell I want to add, put in a plus sign, and then click the next cell. Okay, so what you'll note here is that after I've put in the equal sign and I click the first cell, it puts the coordinates in there. So this 1 sits in cell D3, which has been colored blue, and the cell is highlighted blue, so you can see or have a visual of what you're adding together and not necessarily rely on the coordinates themselves. So once I've got my equation in there, I just hit enter, and 1 plus 5 is 6. Okay, you can do that all the way down here. So I hit equals, click the next cell I want to add, hit the plus sign, and the second cell. Okay, so we get 2 plus 4 is 6 again, and then actually they're all going to be 6. So just one more time here, I want to add this cell plus this cell, so I hit equals and I click the first. There we go, so 2, 5, and I hit the plus sign and click the last cell I want to add. Okay, I hit enter. A useful little trick here, what you'll notice is because this is kind of, I'm adding a column by column and row by row, the equation really doesn't change much other than the specific coordinates for each cell. What you can do in Excel is copy one equation to the following cells using this little green box on the bottom right hand side of this cell. If you go scroll over to it, okay, so now I'm on top of the green box, where my cursor is. It's going to turn into a little plus sign, a little black plus sign. You click, hold, and then drag it down, and you see how it's creating a bigger green box. That means you're copying that formula from that cell to the ones below it. So if I lift up my finger from the click button, it automatically transfers that particular equation into the remaining cells. Okay, so just to make sure, I click on this cell. If I go up here, I want to double check that I'm adding the right things together. I go to the equation bar, which is this bar right here. I click on the equation itself, and it shows me what's being added together. Okay, as long as the equation deals with adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing row by row, you should be able to click and drag. Okay, that's what I call it, the click and drag. So the next operation I want to do, let's do multiplication. Forgive my spelling. All right, so I'm going to multiply this number here by the second number. So again, I put the equal sign in, I click the cell, or the first cell I want to multiply, put in the asterisk, or the little star symbol, and then click the next cell that I want to add. In this case, it was a 6. 5 times 6 is 30, so if I hit the equal button, it should come out as 30, and it did. So I'll show you one more time, and then I'm going to continue with the click and drag here. I want to multiply the 4 here by 6. So I hit equals, I click the 4, and I click the 6. Now that I've got that in there, I hit the equal button, and I get 24. So I'm going to show you the click and drag thing again. So again, because I'm doing this row by row, I can copy the equation from one cell to the rest. So I'm going to click it and drag. So the Excel formula is copied, and it auto-populates for me. Okay. Again, I just want to double check that it's multiplying the right cells together. So I click on the cell I want to verify. I click the equation bar, and it shows me exactly what is being multiplied together. Okay. Oops. Be careful not to click too much when you're in the equation bar. Next, let's do some division. There we go. So I want to divide the left column here, to division, by the addition column. Okay, so I'm going to hit equals. I want to divide 30 by 6. Okay, so I'm going to hit the 30. And then to tell Excel that I'm dividing, here, let me see if I can zoom this in a bit. There we go. To tell Excel I want to divide 30 by 6, I hit equals, click the 30, divide it with the backslash, and then click 6 because I want to divide 30 by 6. So I got the equation in there, and I hit enter. I get 5. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So again, because this is row by row, I don't have to continue to put the formulas in there because that can be time consuming, and Excel really helps us be more productive and efficient. I can copy the formula all the way down to the final row that I wanted to do the division for. So if you do that, we get 24 divided by 6 is 4, 18 divided by 6 is 3, 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 6 divided by 6 is 1. Okay, so the last example I want to do is subtraction. So subtraction, there we go. Just before I continue here, you'll notice that I put in the word subtraction, and the end of the word extends past the wall of the cell, right? That means this particular word doesn't fit in the cell. To make it wider, we go up to the column break right here between I and J. When you do that, you'll get that little left and right arrow cursor. Click, the width will pop up, and then you just drag it so the word fits in the particular column. Continuing, I want to divide these numbers by these numbers. Okay, so again, I'm going to hit enter. I want to subtract 5 from 30, so I take 30, subtract using the subtract sign, 5, so I click it, and then I hit enter. Okay, so 30 minus 5 is 25. Again, because it's row by row, I'm just going to click and drag the formula all the way down, and it should work, yeah. So 24 minus 4 is 20, 18 minus 3 is 15, and so on and so forth. But if you want to check and just, again, make sure that your formulas have been copied properly, click on the cell you want to verify, come up here to the formula bar and click it. And it shows you what is happening in that particular cell. For example, the blue cell, 12, we're subtracting 2, or the red cell, from the blue cell of 12. So 12 minus 2 is 10. Okay. Some other little useful tools that you can use to present various forms of Excel data is to create a table. So right here we've got the makings of a table. Okay, so we've got some columns and rows. If I wanted to put a border around that, I come up here to the border function, click a downward arrow, drop down menu is going to pop up, and you can select your border. Okay, if you only want to have borders on the right and the left, there's an option for that. For our purposes, we want to create a border around everything. So we hit that, and all of a sudden we've got a table. Okay. If you wanted to reformat the text options of your column titles, you can use the text formatting up here. For example, let's say I wanted to bold these particular titles. I would hit the bold button. There we go, and they will be bolded. Okay, just gonna make this a bit bigger. There we go. What would be other some? If you don't, well, I think for our purposes here, this is really all we need. You can also, there's other functions that you might find useful for assignment number 3. For example, the first one is sum, which means, well, it is addition, but the addition of multiple numbers. So say I want to add up all of these numbers here. So 6, 30, 5, and 25. I hit the equal sign, I type in sum, okay? I open a bracket, and then I click and drag or highlight all the numbers I want to add together. So in this case, it's the first row. There we go. I close the bracket and I hit enter. Perfect. So all of these numbers added up together here. Oops. All these numbers here add up to 66. Okay. Again, because everything's row by row and sequential, I can click and drag that all the way down, and it automatically populates for me because I'm copying the equation. I'm just going to format this quickly here. There we go. Make it look like the rest of my table. What was I going to mention here? Oh, yes. So once you've got your equations in place, you can changing one of these numbers will change everything else. Okay. For example, if I turned this into a 1, it's already, because the equation's in here, it's already going to do the math for me. Okay, so that's why this can help make your recipe costings efficient, is because 9 times out of 10, once you've got the equations in place, it's just a matter of changing ingredients and ingredient proportions, and your recipe will auto-populate for you. Okay. Specifically with respect to assignment number 3, addition, you're going to have to calculate the cost of each individual ingredient, and you're going to have to add them together. Okay, you're also going to have to do some multiplication or division in converting recipe units, so kilograms to grams, milliliters to liters, so on and so forth. You're going to have to do some division specifically and yields to arrive at your edible portion. Some subtraction. Are you going to have to do some subtraction? I don't really think so, but it is a basic function of Excel, so that's why I cover it here. And then the sum of all of your ingredient costs and a provision for wastage equals your recipe costs. So that's where you would use the sum function as well. So now that I've kind of given this little tutorial practice a little bit, just so you get used to using the Excel, the formatting things, but also some of the equations. Okay, so try and do some multiplication, addition, subtraction, and division, even follow the exercise I've laid out here. It will definitely speed up and help you with assignment number 3. The next video I'll post will be me laying out the standard recipe, the recipe costing worksheets. I'll also do a brief tutorial on how to use it to cost out a recipe. Until then, thank you for watching this video, and we'll talk soon.